Looks interesting.
Okay.
Hey Saurav, I would like to share a picture with the participants. How is it possible to drop an image in the chat?
I think it is. Just drop it there. Otherwise, if you can't, just send me an email and I'll open that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because I'm unable to drop. Let me email you.
Just send me an email. I'll share it during the meeting.
Great.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Today it's our 55th PT Open discussion, and today we'll be talking about some of the questions that were either discussed in the last meeting or came via email or in social media accounts that I have. And if you were there last week, we talked. There was a question around REST, the extension. I'll be talking about it. It's around APIs and all, and that's a great extension in VS Code for that. So we'll go through that. We'll see API calls, and there are a few questions. One from Dashrath, one from someone else. I guess I don't remember the names, but let's see. Let's go through the normals again. There's a page where you go to register every week. If you're not a default attendee, and if you are, which most of us here in this meeting are, you get an invite automatically on Friday. Okay, so let's directly jump into the questions. And the first question was from Sandeep sir, what we discussed last week. He had some questions around how you do an expand and filter together while you are trying to fetch details using an API call. So let me first go through and open my VS Code, and I will see this client. Few people use Postman, and that's also okay. I also use it sometimes, but otherwise, let me just create an extension. Okay, and let me zoom this in so that everybody can see it. Alright. So it's here, and let's talk about one of the extension. If you don't have it installed, I would recommend, and you work on APIs, then this is something that I love because I don't have to on a separate window in Postman to do this, and the extension is called REST client. There's an extension for VS Code called REST client. This gives you capabilities to do so many things. I'm using very little as in based on what I'm being using it, but I know, and if you read other MVP's blog, people have talked about it, and super cool. It let you do your callings within VS Code. You can see the results in the same window at the same time. So do install it if you don't have it, and let's quickly see how we utilize it for our API calls. So there are different ways. The simple way is to create an HTTP file. You can create any name. You don't have to publish it or anything. It's just for you. It's HTTP file. Now there are different kind of settings in this extension. And if you want, you can make your own setting file just to keep it simple. So let me do a setting file. Open workspace settings is on, and I might have it. No, I don't. So when you come here on the setting file, you can define your settings based on this called REST client. Now, like you don't want to repeat your username and password on every call, right? So you can set the environment variables into this using this client dot environment variables. Concentrating here. Disable just client dot environment variables. Okay, keep this one as it is, and then you can create your own configuration based on whatever you want. So let's say I want a meeting one, which is pointing to one of my environment which I have. So I can just put a comma here saying that this is my new environment, and then I can define the parameters for it. Wherever I'll say in my file something as username, you should replace it with, let me open my client because I think I have created a demo account for it. It is API user. Okay, so I'll call this username as API user, and then for the password I also want to store it so that I don't have to repeat it every time when I'm doing these calls. And the password for the demo is same. Now the other common thing that we use in API call, every API call, is a URL, and for APIs there is a common URL that you use. So for my Docker environment, that base URL becomes something like this. Okay. Let me copy it from here. Here. This is, and then my port number, which is for this, and this. So now these settings are kind of stored, and you can have multiple. So let's say if you are trying to connect to a cloud environment, you can create another configuration so that you can easily switch between environments if you have to. Now I don't have anything, but I'll just create two so that we can see how you can choose them. Now that saves so much hassle while I'm doing my API calls. And then you come here on your HTTP file and it remembers what you have set on your settings. So it's easier for it. The way it works is the 3 hash in the beginning suggested that the next line is a command. So let's say if I want to fetch all APIs, just for example, then I can do a get. Go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think you can? Do you think you can zoom in?
Okay. Thank you. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Which is my base URL. Is that it? Base URL? Yes, base URL. I can just do it here within these curly braces. And then we all know to fetch API, and we have talked about it in past, you need to do API and then the version that you're using for that API. For every API call, you need an authorization. It's not supporting. It normally supports the auto commands, but if it doesn't, you can do whatever the authorization you have, authentication you have. So like I'm passing my username, and I'm also passing my password, which are defined in my settings file here, username and password. Now when you come to this HTTP file, at the bottom here, you will see that there are different instances, meeting and cloud. So I can anytime come here and say, I want to run this command on my Docker, which is whatever the settings written on this under this meeting section. And as soon as I did this 3 colons, and if you don't do 3, I guess you lose, the system forgets about it and don't understand it. That was written on the documentation. Let me keep it. As soon as you write a get or any other command, you get the send request. And when you click on it, you'll see the results here. And there was an results which are all these APIs which are available. Now the question that Sandeep sir had last time is specifically around an expand and a filter. Now let's understand what that means. And let me open the standard Microsoft Cronus API extension source code. And this is available in the product DVD or in your, if you open CBC artifact cache inside this. Okay, sorry. Go to this application. This is your V1 API and this is your V2 API, and I've just opened this folder, extracted the source folder, and opened it here. Now let's take this example, and all the API objects are inside this extension. And just for example, this is for items API. If you have to fetch or insert any record into the items, then you use the items API. When you see this page, there is a repeater which shows you all the fields that will be displayed as a result. But at the end, when you come to this, there would be, okay, there it is. There is a part. There are parts in this. And the parts are kind of your sub pages in your actual page. When you open your sales order page, there is a sales order subform page. In the same way, in the API page for items, there is a separate section which shows you base unit of measure attached to that item. And then there is a picture part. So there can be one or multiple pictures. There's a default dimension part. And then there is a item variant parts. So we'll be talking about expanding because that's where you need to use this, and we'll see what that means. Now, whenever you have to do an API call, we just check that our authentication and our this command is running. Now, what we can do is anytime you have to do an API call, you need to have the company ID, which is the unique GUID given to every record in Business Central, and that's also for companies. So if you have to fetch companies, just for example, what we'll do is we'll just copy this as it is. And then we'll say that we want, and this ends with companies. So I'll just copy this from here. And I'll say this time I want to check all companies in database. Right? So I can do a v2.0 and then whatever the entity name, which is companies. When I send this request now, the result will be all the companies in that environment, which is Cronus USA in this case, and a demo company, and then there is a my company. So there are 3 companies, and these are the unique IDs for each company available there. Now, while you're testing or when you're building it, maybe you want to test it on one company and you don't want to specify the company ID again. Again, you can set that into settings.json, which is kind of a global variable, which will apply to all these HTTP files. But at the same time, you can also have a local variable defined, which is something, let's say, set company ID to test all these. And what I'll do is I'll define a variable, which is company ID is equals to whatever comes from my, okay, the result of this is in a set called companies. Okay, so I'll fetch the companies word from here, because that's what I want to fetch from, and then I need the response from it, and in the response there is a body section. From that I want just to fetch the value of the first result that is written from it and the ID of it. So eventually what will happen is as soon as I run this command, it will also store the response into this, so that going forward, whenever I'm fetching or trying to fetch other records from the system, I don't have to run this again and again. So if I do a get again, my company ID should have a value. I'm hoping.
You need to put one more this thing hash.
Oh, I kept only 2. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. initialize here. No, we just read send request again. Okay. I don't need this. They all should run together. Okay. This is companies, which is correct. Dot response. Companies is not found. Okay. So let's use it and we'll see that in a while. Now, because when I have to fetch items from this environment, what I'll have to do is, let's say, get items. Okay. And I'll take the same one from the top. Do it like this. I'll also now have to pass the companies into it because I have a variable called company ID. I should be able to use it if that works. Let's see. And then inside that, I need the name of the API which I'm trying to call, which is items, the entity set name. So I'll just fetch that. Let's try to do a send request and see. Oh, it was not able to find it. Okay, and I have run it earlier in the past. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. So let me hard code that ID for a while, which is tutorials USA. Let's get this ID and I'll pass it here. What happened? Send request. It is your copy. That's bad. Okay, let me try to copy it and put it on Notepad. Works. Okay, it did work here. Try to fetch this from here and this response and pass it here. Okay, let me try to do this. Okay. As it goes, and I've always used that, so that's why I'm not sure why it is not responding. Okay, this is, let me stick to this. Okay, company ID. Let me copy this. Let's see, download that. It seems correct. I don't think this will make a difference. And that's the reference which fetches it. So now if I come here, it says it's empty. Okay. And I've done the base URL count, which is working fine. I've also fetched all the companies. Oh, but I didn't define this variable. Sorry, that's my bad. I should have defined it somewhere here, which is so that it. No, that's how we define it in companies, and then this becomes your companies. Okay, save it. Okay, now it stores it. Okay, so I'll have to kind of store the results of it in this so that it can then use this reference. So now my company ID have a value, which is a local variable here. Now if I do a send request, it should fetch all the items that are available in the database, which are these. But now let me switch to my other window and I'll keep these side by side. If you compare these, you'll see that there is an ID field, which is here. Then there is a number field, and all these fields are there. But there is, where is a part? Oh, there is a part, base unit of major, and whenever you are checking it, you will do it like this: entity set name, unit of major. So if you see in this item, it's not unit of major, but there is nothing which displays at unit of major because it's a sub part of it. So if you have to see the details of the part, you actually have to expand that part so that it's visible to you. So now what I can do here in the same query, which I've written here, I can also add a question mark and then do $sign and expand it. Okay, and I need to know the name of that, what I want to expand, which is this of major. What will happen with this is it will also expand the unit of major when the results are being displayed. If not, what was the item name? Unit of major, right? Yes. Okay. That should work. Items and then expand. Okay, let me try first a simple one, which is can I filter it for specific items? Filter where if I just want to see the results where the item is equals to, let's say, let me check an item here, database, IDs, and okay, let's pick the first one, 1896. Yes. If I just have to see, sorry.
Correct the field number. Filter is equal to number. Spelling is incorrect.
Oh, thank you.
It's in the bay.
What is the question? Alright, so let's check it. It should return only one item at this point, where the item number should be 1896. Yes. And this item is just right now only showing the base unit of major, and there's no details around the expanded item or the unit of major. So now in this command, if I want to do, and I guess this was your question, Sandeep said, right? That you want to filter as well as expand it. Now, you can do an and then you can do it all or expand. And then whatever the item that you want to expand, which is in the case, it's a case sensitive thing. Just keep that in mind, everyone. Whenever you're dealing with it, it needs to be in the same case as it is written there. And then let's do a send request. And it says unit of major is not found. That's weird. I did $expand. My English sometimes goes wrong, so let me check it. I'm doing a filtering of item and then also expanding the unit of major. It should have worked as it is. Could not find property unit of major on type item. Okay, let me see. This is unit of major. It should be entity set name as far as I remember. Let me just change that and see what's the difference.
It's entity set name only. It is entity.
Okay, so it was actually entity name, not set name. Unit of major, not units of major. So when I'm trying to do that with entity set name with unit of major, which is this property, entity name, not the set name, then it returns me the results with the filtered item 1896s, which I tried, which is the first part of the query. I filter it with just 1896s. And then also it shows me this section, which is a subpart of that page called unit of major, where it shows me what unit of majors are there. If you have to do a multiple one, let's say if you also want default dimension there, if there are any, you can just pick the entity set name and you should be able to just do hoping a comma. Send this request. Oh, sorry. Could not find the property default dimension. What's the name? What's the problem? Okay, let me just do default dimension. No, it doesn't find that for some reason. Okay, let's pick another one. If there is one. For this one, it is looking for default dimensions. Let's try that. This is a little bit confusing to me also. I thought it should take the entity set name, but on the first one,
It's always on entity set name.
so now it's also showing me the default dimensions, which is expanded. There's no default dimensions on it. And let's just to verify, let's just enter some default dimensions into it. Come on. Where are the dimensions? Okay, let's add some default dimensions into it. Let's say 10, and this one, let's say 4. Okay. Now as we change it, let's quickly check what happens. And now it shows me the dimension inside it, the area and the dimension code. But for what reason, and I'll have to check it, why it selected the unit of major, which is the entity name, not the entity set name. And I, as Sandeep said, you're saying, I was pretty sure that it is entity set name all the time. But if you have to, now this is a simple example where you can filter the record set during your API call, and you can have any kind of filters that you have. And then if you have to do an expand at the same time, if you have multiple expands, you can just do it with the commas. But if you just change the order of it, and that's where it gets interesting, because that's what I guess I tried first, and I was a little bit confused with the results. Okay, let me just show this. Okay. So instead of this, if you first do, let's say you remove this filter and you do a expand directly of unit of major, and then if you apply, if you just change the sequence of it, if you just do a filter of code equals pieces, it will actually apply this filter on this expanded entity. So you can even do a filtering inside that if you have to do it. So like if I see it now, it show me all the items because I don't have a filter, but it will only show me unit of majors where it is pieces.
Wow, that's great.
Okay, so yeah, this is where I started from when you asked this question, Sandeep, that can I even filter inside my expanded group? And you can actually. So now if you have to see all the items where the unit of major code is pieces, which is a part in that page, you can eventually do that by using a filter inside the expand. So you can first expand it, and then even if you just want to do it for one item, so you can also add like this, which is, let's copy this from here, place it here, and I haven't tested it, but I'm hoping this should work. And expand, if there are multiple base unit of majors, then it should show me only the pieces one. Let's see what happens. So now the results set have only one value, which is 1896S, and that's it. And it also shows me the pieces, and maybe by this part, and that is unit of majors. I should be doing this. Where they moved it. Item, okay, unit of majors. Okay, there is only one. Let's add one more box. And yeah. Okay. I just want to see where everywhere it is CAN for this item, or any type of filters that you're applying, right? So let's change this filter to be CAN. Let's send the request. It shows me the item 1896S, and if I come down here, oh, it didn't get refresh or what? It's just saying none. Let me run it again. Okay, item of majors. There is one for CAN, but what is the table relation? And I haven't seen that table relation. So I'm not sure what it is bringing, but it is bringing entity set name. It is related based on the system ID where unit of major ID. Okay. So maybe it's yet not sync. But let's try that with dimension, because dimension we know they are already synced, right? Let me try it without the filter. Okay. Save and request. It shows me only pieces. Okay, it haven't been saved yet. Okay. Let me do a default dimension.
Do we have to use if match?
Yeah, we can. Isn't it's just to eliminate the errors, right? But if I just want to, the idea was if I just want to filter this out. So if I say here, instead of unit of major, say default dimension, and then say where the dimension code is equals to area. Do I get only one record in the expanded item? So I do get one record, 1896S, and the default dimension that is shown is just area. So there are different ways that you can do it, I think, but you can also run all these commands in Postman if you love Postman. I don't have any different opinion about Postman, but because it let me do it inside Visual Studio Code, that I guess that's where it becomes pretty handy. Instead of going out, I can define those, and if I have to change, so like I'm doing my development locally, but I also have to test it on my customer environment, I can just change here and it'll start fetching the data from there. Does that make sense? Sandeep sir, it was your question, but anyone else have any questions?
Thanks. It was quite, I would say, overwhelmed by your research. Expand in the lines, the part is great. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else have any question before we move to next question on this?
Do you plan to cover deep insert sometime later?
I'll think about it. Why not? That's not a problem.
That would be interesting, particularly if it is sales and purchase orders or invoice.
Okay. Okay. Vijay, just as in before we started this meeting, you said about extending it, right? And surprisingly, and I don't know what's the reason behind it, but Microsoft have set all these pages or most of these pages to extensible fonts, which limits us as partners to extend these.
But
This
you
one
can
is
always publish
extended.
pages.
Yeah, you can.
Yep.
But with their question, what if we have to add it? When you are looking, but they hello.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It's pretty bad weather. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, it's pretty bad here weather
That's
today.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Vijay, can you did you get that? What I was saying at the end?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll think about the deep inserts and deep set, as you said. We'll talk about it maybe someday once it is ready. Okay.
Just
Now I have this question, but I'll come to this in a while because that may take some time, and I don't know if Shahid is here or not. But Shahid had this question around reversing a purchase prepayment invoice. I don't know much about it, but I did some of my findings, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and others can correct me if I am. But so the way you deal with it is first let me set my number series is for sure. My purchase and payable setups because on this Cronus environment it might not be set. Okay, so I'll pick this here and so keep it simple. Now, if I understand it correctly, this was a question around applying or trying to reverse a prepayment invoice, which is already being posted in the system. So the way I read it is that you first create a purchase order, obvious. You can do your setups at different places, like on your items for prepayment. But let's say this is the order and there is an item here. Let's say the quantity is 10. If you have set it on item, I guess it automatically calculates it. Otherwise, you can define how much prepayment you are receiving for or you are paying for this purchase order. Right? So let's say I'm saying I'm paying 100% prepayment for this. We'll update the lines into it, and the calculation is more or less done here. Now, in case of posting the prepayment invoice, you don't directly go to the posting and post it directly, and others can correct me if I'm going wrong anywhere. You actually go into your posting, and then inside prepayment, you post your prepayment invoice. Now, as you do that, and I'm not sure my setups are in place or not, but I'm pretty sure they are not. Oh, there is a workflow. Okay, let me disable that. I've been showing someone workflow someday. I might have activated this. Disable this. So if I go here and do a prepayment invoice, okay, that's. Let me try to change the vendor. Okay. If I do a this happen this time. Okay. Domestic retail. Okay, domestic retail. I have a sales service, a purchase account, purchase invoice account. I don't have a is prepayment with account. It's prepayment. Okay. Let me set it as it is. Memo. You normally receive it on set up a separate account for this. Invoice. So this the prepayment invoice has been generated, and if you have to check it, then you come here into this prepayment invoice section under navigate. You'll be able to see how many prepayment invoices are generated, which is this one. And I'm hoping what Sahid is trying to do is trying to do a correct, or there are other options, cancel or create corrective invoice. Because when you try to do this, the system should generate an error message, which is you cannot do it because it's a prepayment invoice. And this invoice can only be cancelled or can be knocked off with a credit memo from your actual document, which is purchase order in this case. You can again go into your this section prepayment, and then there is a post prepayment credit memo. And once you do that, I don't have an account again. Credit memo number. Credit memo. There, credit memo number. Where is that? Yes. Okay. Now if I try to do a credit memo, there is vendor credit memo number in the purchase order.
You will have to add it.
Oh, it's not there by default. That's okay. Not there. I have to design this. It's placed. Okay.
Please then
Sure.
look in the bottom tabs, application or invoice.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's there. Oh, here it is. Now let's try to go here and do a credit memo. And I guess unless once you have posted the invoice, you can't change the line, if I read it correctly, right? I cannot add a line.
You can add a line, but you cannot modify the existing line.
And then you have to do a credit memo or adjustment against it so that it's kind of becomes editable, right? I don't know much about it. But I guess this is the only way that you can knock off the prepayment invoice which has been done.
Yes.
Okay. Shahid is not here, but I'm hoping that he'll get idea about it. But you can't directly go into the postal invoice and say do a correct or create a corrective credit memo for a prepayment document which is created. Now, the next question is from Dashrath, and Dashrath is here. And Dashrath, can you try to explain this to me? Because most of the worksheet pages that I saw in the system have a send to Excel button.
Yes, so on requisition worksheet page.
Sorry?
On requisition worksheet page, unable to access send to button Microsoft Excel on Navision 2017. Navision version. Not
Oh, Navision.
Yes, yes.
You said requisition worksheet, right?
Yes.
Requisition worksheet. On this page, you don't see a send to Excel. So in Nav, and I don't know why, because they are able to do it in BC, the worksheet page didn't had were not allowed to have sent to Excel by design. It's not by code. Because if you even see, and I'm sure about it, I guess, if you see the journals, there is also not a button to send to Excel, right?
Okay.
Now, back then, if I remember it correctly, what it was being supported is that you can go to that page. It doesn't change anything, but if you change it to from worksheet to be a list, I guess that was it. Yeah.
But you can print and send to Excel, right?
You can, I guess. Let's see.
Can you go there on the page? 1 second.
Acquisition worksheet. Okay. Yeah, that works, I guess. That works for
Yeah,
me. I don't know.
yeah, it works. Works.
Does that work?
No, not working. Unable to
No,
access that button.
no. I'm saying
Yes,
this.
yes. I tried. In my local Kronos data working, but not for specific company.
It's not working for one specific company in the database.
Yes, in Kronos database it is working all fine.
This option also, print and send to
Yes,
Excel.
yes.
Okay, is that page seems to be customized in the system?
No.
The other thing that would stop normally send to Excel is if there is a what we call that tree size format, like you have it on chart of accounts, right? So there is it on the inputs or not? Yeah, this if these two properties are set, sometime it doesn't work in nav if there is a tree size view attached to that particular page.
Okay.
And if it is, and did you try taking that page from that customer environment and try to upload it in Cronus to see then it is working on Cronus or not? Because it can be either, right? Either it's a page issue, design issue, that you have modified for the customer and it's not working there. So if you take that page FOB and
Okay.
upload it into the Cronus environment and then see is it working or not.
Yes, I will check.
Okay.
page.
Now, if you remember, and I would not like to spend more time on that, but I have not seen this, and this is a question from past week that we had, that this person is saying that he created a customer list page. I created an extension of customer list page which defines the sequence of some fields, okay, and it applied the extension. Now, when I personalize and move the fields on the customer list and then done save, which I need my personal sequence, it shows me what I define on extension, not which I define on personalize. Okay. Anybody have experienced something like this? And I haven't, so I'm not sure about it. That what he's saying is, and let's quickly set this up. Let me add a new file, stas.al, page extension 003, customer list. Okay. Customers list. Cannot be declared. There is already, oh, there's this hello stuff. Okay. Now he's saying that he has put what? Let's be very specific to that. He's saying he put the sequence name and then base calendar code. Okay. So name is already in the page, right? In the customer list page. Customers. The name is there as a second field. So let's add the base calendar code. Add after, let's say, and I never suggest people to add after or add before, and there is a reason behind it. But do try to add either at the beginning or at the end. We're going to add the field base calendar code. So the application area all. Okay. Is already defined in customer list. Oh, it's already defined. Okay. So I'm going to try this calendar code, and then because I don't know if it's visible false or not, but I'll say it's visible false. And how do you move a field in the design using page extension? Can I change the position of?
Yes, you can. Right,
Using page customization, you can, right? But using page extension?
Yes, you should be able to do that.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Move after.
Move after and move before.
Move after name. I normally use page customization because that also saves an object, right? After.
It does not contain a bracket. Curly bracket does not contain.
Oh, it doesn't contain the curly bracket?
Yes, there are two parameters, the name, the first parameter and second parameter.
Oh, the second parameter is at least one project pages.
Base calendar code.
Anchor. So I'm anchoring to name, and then I want the control to be base calendar code.
Yes.
That's interesting.
No required.
Not required. Okay. So yeah, I guess I always use page customization for it because that saves an object ID for the customer. But let's assume for this scenario you want to move.
But these extension pages are free, right?
Extension pages are free, but it's better if you save them. They are still at, there is a top count, right? Once you reach to 9,999, you can't have more. So it's better to, I prefer, if there are personalization that I have to do, I use page customization, because it doesn't count into that object counting. And then I'm also thinking from that perspective, but it didn't move, guys. Oh, maybe it's visible false, that's why. So can I also modify the base calendar code the same and set visible to be true? Oh. Okay, so now I see the base calendar. Okay, so that's his first part. Now his second part was, now I have personalization setting to move the field customer posting group between these two fields. Okay, so let's personalize this and add a field inside customer posting group. Okay, it's ready, and let me place it between these. All right, and let's do a done. Save. Save, which I need my person sequence. Now I reopen the page. Let's go back home and open my customer list. It remains there. For his case, it does not. And not which I personalize. If I delete the page extension, then it shows the default field sequence. And I am not sure, because I had some doubts that it may or may not work, but it's working, guys. So I don't know, Ashok, what you are facing, but I see that this is, I moved from the page extension, and in this field I dragged based on my user personalization, which should be stored in my personalized pages of my customers. There is some changes, I can't see them, but I'm pretty sure that it's for that. And if I just remove this, it will bring my sequence back, and I'll load back to my customer card. And it will remember what I did in my extension. So yeah, it did remember what I did in my extension. So I don't know, Ashok, if, and you said you deployed it on SaaS. It doesn't, I don't think it differs, which I did on Docker or what you're doing on SaaS. If it is working here, I'm pretty much optimistic that it will also work in SaaS. So maybe, Ashok, if you have some more insights into it, let me know. And I can talk about it again next time. Okay, so those were the questions for today. Anything else, guys? And yeah, Fauzan shared an image on the email, which I forgot to share with everybody. He was not able to share it on the Teams channel, but here it says, he found this cool chart related to functional areas in Business Central. He wanted to share it with everybody. So I will put it somewhere. Where should I put it? I can't put it on my blog because I haven't built this, and I don't know the source, so I can't even refer someone. But Fauzan, if you have a link somewhere from where you picked it, I might be able to share the link.
Yeah, great. I'll do that.
Yeah, because I can't put something who somebody else wrote on my blog, so I might put it on the recording in this meeting, and then people can check it as they need it. Okay, with that, any other questions, guys?
So I just one query.
Yeah.
How to use this SOAP services on SaaS environment?
You're breaking, Srinivas.
So he's asking how to use SOAP web services within Business Central, right?
So
you want to consume?
Yes.
And I don't know, but I think you should, and if it is Business Central, I think you should switch all your external integration toward APIs if you can. This is where Microsoft is going. If you see all the integration that even Microsoft is doing, is moving toward APIs from SOAP and OData. And if you specifically need how you consume SOAP services from Business Central, we can surely talk about it next week. I'll prepare a small demo around it if you want. Okay. And
Yes.
what you want to do? You want to read the SOAP web service inside Business Central, or you want to send the data out?
Yeah, both actually. So I have get and post kind of things are there. So I want to read the data by consuming the SOAP method, and as well as I can pass my inputs to the SOAP service so that I can get some response for my inputs. So the both the things I need to do on the SOAP service.
Okay, I'll think about it if I can prepare an example for this during next week call. But as I said,
So
if you can, I don't know, there are no official info around it, but if you see all the Microsoft integrations are switching from SOAP and OData to APIs. So whatever solution you are building, try to switch it to API if you can. And that's something
yeah,
which is Microsoft is supporting going forward, right?
Saurabh,
yes, sir. I
I'm putting a
understand
link in the
that.
chat. You can look at that link that talks about calling external web services
Oh,
from Business Central. I just put it in the chat.
oh, great. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, here it is. What is my problem? It is I tried 122 by using 1209 code in it, but that is specifically for on-prem only. So it is not working for SaaS and SaaS kind of things actually. So Business Central by default providing 1209 code in it for calling SOAP kind of services, but that is strictly restricted for on-prem.
Yeah, it says about .NET interoperability on the top.
Right. Yeah, I'll think about it. I'm pretty sure there are ways that you can do it, and I'll see if I can. But all the integrations that we are upgrading today, they're all switching towards APIs. But if you specifically want something on SOAP, I can think about an example if I can, and I'll share it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Anyone else have anything for today? Okay, so if not, I don't think I have something to save somewhere in my GitHub for today's demo. As in, we just talked about this REST API client and this HTTP file. If somebody needs an example or reference of this, and maybe not Sandeep sir, not the expand, and maybe I'll add it. I demoed this last year on our community session, and for the same, what I did is I created a Git repo, which is this for Power community, and there would be surely some examples into this HTTP file. Right, this is in sample HTTP. There are some examples of getting companies, getting items, and then there are some others like doing an employee get, creating an employee. And just for your reference, Sandeep sir, I'll also add those two here, the commands that we created, so that you can, if needed, you can just refer to this one from Power
I've been
Communities.
using this APIs for doing a lot of integrations with Business Central. The only thing I was stuck was, which you helped me today, was this using both expand and filter together. And you have sweetened it further with the filter on the parts. So that was great.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, guys, if there's nothing else, that's all for this week.
A question from the participants. If anybody has the link to the recording of boot camp which we had back in April, I guess. Does somebody has recorded?
Which boot camp it was?
I don't know the exact name. but it was arranged by, I guess, Power Community, and Raz Chaudhary was the hosting them.
So Power communities have everything on their website, I guess. If you check, I'm pretty sure they do they have recordings. I am
He
not
did
sure. Yeah, he did
Mhm.
said it because I was there presenting last time. So maybe you drop a chat to him, and maybe he can share that because I haven't received any info on that after that. Which is this one, right? 16th to 17th April.
Exactly.
Yeah, so maybe send an email or chat to Raj in LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure if there are recordings somewhere, he'll be able to share those. I don't see a link here somewhere anywhere.
Me neither. So that's why I thought maybe somebody from the participant might have a clue about it. But I'll drop an email.
Yeah, because normally if that would have happened, I would have known about it because he would have told me because I was the presenter. But I haven't received any communication after that boot camp. So I'm not sure. Maybe he forgot to share or something. But check with him.
So, can I share one
Yes, sir.
document which might help the user who was looking for this thing?
API? Oh, sorry.
API.
SOAP?
Yeah.
Okay.
SOAP. Yeah. Just put all the text in the chat. Or should I enter the file? Give you the file.
You can send me the file otherwise, and I'll forward it to Srinivas.
Yeah. Fine.
That'll be great help. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So please share. I can also review it.
Yeah, well, just if you can remain on the chat for a little over a minute, I will just change the user ID, password, and URL and share.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, or Sandeep, sir, you can send it to me, and I can forward it to
Sure.
Srinivas. That's
We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Saurabh. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Thank you.